here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
And it also brings up a thought for me too, this idea of power dynamics in sex, because sometimes, that is a great example of like equal power dynamics in sex, and how often we can enter into consensual power dynamics, like in BDSM or kink, where we're like, you're the top, I'm the bottom, you're the dom, I'm the sub, or whatever. But there's also unconscious power dynamics that we can enter into in sex. And one that's coming to my mind is, for me being and probably for you too, being sex experts here, we've spent a lot of time cultivating this ability in ourselves, our relationship to our eroticism and to our sexual bodies. And people that I date, it can bring up a lot of insecurities, or can bring up, not feeling adequate enough, or not feeling like they'd be able to match me, or this, that, or the other. And so I'd love to talk about, these roles of these unconscious power dynamics, and how we might be able to create, equal playing ground, or what we do with that.
Yeah. So if I'm just talking about like heterosexual couples, there is inherently a power dynamic between men and women, just in general. And it doesn't mean in that relationship that the woman may be not more powerful in the relationship, but in like the societal realm and the way that the way that men and women are looked at, the man is supposed to be this powerful, strong, aggressive, dominant person, and the woman is supposed to be the submissive one in surrender. And a lot of times, like I work with a lot of men, straight and gay, who are like, that's not them, right? And I also have worked with women who are like, that's my jam, right? And so it's like understanding roles, and they like these kind of scripts that have been placed upon us. They're really in a binary place, and they really like do a disservice to us. But to speak a little bit about kind of the expectations and some of the things that you deal with as a sex educator, I feel like I deal with it in a little different way, in that I feel a lot of pressure and a high expectation to deliver in my personal relationships. And I have to constantly ask myself if this is for me. And if the answer is no, then that's not the right person for me to play with. Because otherwise I'm working.
Yeah.
And I work a lot and I love it. And I also need to have something for myself as a replenisher, right? And not to say that, there is constantly an evolving, an existing pleasure loop in the work that I do, which is why I do it. I love it. And also, I don't always want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, as we even extend it beyond ourselves too, because I've seen myself in both of those roles over the years, and roles that I'm not consenting to go into, but I think because of the image of me being who I am or whatever, it's there.
Yeah.
So
can I say one more thing about this, like kind of unconscious power dynamics?
Yeah.
So I think, in a way, these things that I'm going to name are obvious, but sometimes they go unchecked. Depending on this, the socioeconomic agreements between partners, there's always one that makes more money than the other. And is one of them dependent on the other, right? Is the one working and then one is at home, taking care of things? Or are there two workers in the family, but one is making quite a bit more money? And then the question becomes, how can we make this more equitable? And consciously looking like, how is this affecting our sex life? Because I can guarantee that it is in some way. And how do you balance it in other ways where everybody feels like they have an equitable piece in the relationship. And that's challenging sometimes, and something that needs a level of consciousness to even name it. There's also, I'm in an interracial couple. My partner is from Honduras, and he's not from America. English is his second language. He's an immigrant. And just noticing a power dynamic that exists there, and the opportunities that I had, as a 7-year-old, and who he was and where he was and what he was doing at 7, right? Like night and day. Our lives were night and day. And so recognizing my privilege, and also my privilege now, and how can I use that to elevate him, and give him things that he maybe didn't have when he was younger, or doesn't have the money for now, as a way to say, I believe in you, I believe in your growth and your learning, and I want it for you. And that's not always sexual, that's sometimes relational.
But as we see, some of these relational things do impact our sex life, and vice versa. Like these things don't exist in a vacuum. Yeah. I also think I think there's something to be said too around even bringing up the conversation and bringing conscious awareness to the power dynamics. For me, in some of these relationships, it is expressing, yes, I am Dr. Kat, and I've spent this time learning these things, but I'm not in that role here. And I'm not, I want to play, I want to explore. I don't want to be put on a pedestal to have pressure to have to bring, and teach and do, or that, you have to match me or whatever it is. But then there's also can be a conscious awareness of let me be the teacher and you be the student, or let you be the teacher this time and I be your student and teach me about what turns you on.
Also a fun game.
Let me get my glasses on. Let me
exactly.
have my little ruler.
Tell me, teach me.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.